Welcome on in, Heat fans. Tobin here with you. Appreciate you checking out the channel. If you could, please subscribe. If you already have, love you, appreciate you. Miami Heat are back in action tonight. They're going to take on the Orlando Magic. We'll have a game recap for you. We will, dissect everything that happened. Going to be a fascinating game tonight because injury report came out last hour. I'm doing this at about 2:15 today, and some fascinating things happening. First of all, yesterday the injury report comes out. Jimmy Butler listed as doubtful, but not out, as is Kyle Lowry, which I thought was a little bit weird. And Ira had reported the expectation is Jimmy Butler is going to make his return either Sunday against the Hornets or Monday in Brooklyn. Interesting question. Which one do you go with? It's a back-to-back. Awesome job by the NBA schedule makers there. And I guess the question is, do you rest Jimmy through the entire homestand and then you bring him back for a road trip with two decent teams? You know, not two teams I think you could just overlook and say, Raptors and Nets. Nets are a weird team. We've seen this. This is a team that has given the Heat a good amount of trouble, unless you're like that reporter who like brings it up and then Spo gets that crazy look in his eye and he's going to take you out, as we can all remember.
You mentioned their injuries, and obviously your injuries are well documented. I'm curious, regardless of what lineups are out there, what have they done that have caused you guys difficulties in the last several games?
I'm not going to concede that. I mean, this is just competition.
But do you rest Jimmy for the last game? If you're going to bring him back for one of the two, but he's not going to, because Ira said he's not going to play both. Wouldn't you just bring him out on the road trip? That seems to make the most sense than just having him come back for the Hornets, who are simply dreadful. They are getting, I think, LaMelo back, though, tonight. So, maybe you feel a little bit worry there that they're going to get some reinforcements. And then, of course, you also have Terry Rozier, who's probably going to be flirting with the Heat. I think a lot of Hornets are going to be flirting with the Heat. Please, come get us. So, old Tobes, I plan on being boots on the ground Sunday for D-Wade night. That's the other thing. You would like to see Jimmy, balling out with D-Wade there. But, old Tobes, if you're going to bring him back for one, you might as well just bring him out for the road trip. That seems to make the most sense. Then he plays the Hornets, then he rests till the Raptors game. But we'll see. I mean, based on how the injuries are going, Jimmy may have to play on Sunday. The other interesting thing that came out with the injury report, Tyler Herro is now out. Or doubtful. He is doubtful to play tonight with a shoulder strain, which certainly is concerning because Tyler, with Kyle already out, Tyler's essentially the de facto point guard on this team, as the plan was early on in the year. And with the Heat, they're not going to have a lot of ball handling with Tyler out. I mean, essentially your only true guard on the team is, I guess, J-Rich. They do have RJ Hampton, who is he was going to go to the G League, but now he's sticking around. So that is, that's what they got at guard tonight. And looking at the last game, you had Bam starting with with Jaime and Jovic. Haywood Highsmith probably stays in there, and maybe RJ Hampton in the starting lineup as well. So definitely an interesting thing. And then you wonder, like, with the doubtful, like, is somebody just going to be in sweats than emergency? Like, hey, Kyle, can you play point guard with one hand just in case, like, RJ Hampton gets hurt? Something like that. Maybe that's why not all of them have been officially ruled out. But I think that's interesting. Usually when a guy's doubtful, they're not playing. Usually. The one piece that is interesting, though, is Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin probable to play tonight, and Caleb has not played since Christmas. Has been pretty banged up this year. You're missing, 17 games so far this season, and has been out all of 2024. So now you get a chance to get him back and see, what he can infuse back in this lineup. Certainly is coming at an opportune time with Tyler going down. So, the potential for him to be out there right away is, possible because they could insert him in the starting lineup, quite frankly, if they wanted to. They could put Duncan in the starting lineup they got a lot of different, I guess, methods that they could go with this whole thing. And you essentially have two bigs now who are bringing up the ball for a good amount of time. We saw a lot of Jovic doing that, and we saw a lot of Bam doing it. But this is going to be an interesting time for Caleb because, Caleb is going into essentially a contract year if he wants to. He has a player option next year for a little over $7 million. And one would have to wonder, like, if he has a monster playoff, is he going to expect double that? Is he going to expect near 18 million next year if he has a monster playoff like he did last year? Because if you're Caleb Martin, you think to yourself, come on, dude. Is he going to at least expect the Max Strus deal? Hell, Gabe Vincent's making 11 million a year. So I would find it hard to believe that Caleb Martin is going to opt into $7 million outside of him having a season-ending injury and him not getting this year to really prove anything. So it's an interesting thing for the Heat because, with Caleb, we've seen now that the Miami Heat, they have their kind of limit on these guys that they feel like they max out and they're wondering, all right, do we really invest in this guy long term or do we just find another one, right? Like Caleb Martin's been missing, but Haywood can take a lot of that role. Jaime is getting a lot of those wing minutes. Now, certainly there was a game, like you looked at this past game with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you could have used a guy like Caleb Martin. You could have used his perimeter defense. You could never really have enough guys like that in the postseason to throw up bodies, especially with teams like Milwaukee and teams like Boston that you want to throw bigger guys at very strong offensive guards, a la if they were to face a Maxey, if they were to face Dame. Caleb Martin is a very valuable piece. But the question becomes, all right, does somebody else look at that and say, well, he's a really valuable piece. We're going to, we can give you something here for a trade and you're not going to invest in him. Or do you have him as part of a deal as a sweetener? Because I think that it's interesting seeing so much fodder go on with the Miami Heat. Everybody essentially thinks they're going to make a move, especially with the Kyle Lowry contract being what it is, being a $30 million expiring deal. A lot of people having a hard time believing that the Miami Heat are going to just hold on to that. And especially, it's kind of like Tyler said the other night, right? Like, everybody is kind of the point guard on this team. And it's not to say that Kyle doesn't have his value because he's had big moments and we can see that. But as far as being the quarterback to get guys set, I don't think they really need that. And that's kind of been the theme. We've had a lot of these discussions last year too. And look, Tyler ended up getting hurt, so you needed Kyle Lowry. He was huge. So I am wondering, with that on the horizon, trade deadline less than a month away, and Caleb essentially being possibly an expiring deal if he wanted to go to another place and either re-up with him because they like his talent, guy's a baller, or, does a playoff team or contending team come and knocking and be like, hey, you guys have these young studs who you're going to be playing. Are you really going to be playing Caleb Martin that much? Do the Heat think to themselves, all right, Caleb's not going to be our main perimeter guy defending anymore. We're going to go with Haywood Highsmith because he's on the cheap skis. These are interesting questions that you got to ask yourself with the Miami Heat going forward with Caleb's return. He came, he's been battling through a lot this year, had the knee thing in camp, came back, and he said in his own admission, I remember being after his first game, he's like, I didn't want to, you don't want to step on any toes, is the way that he put it. But this guy is absolute energy. The way he can go clamp down on defense and get steals and get out on the break, and he'll tomahawk it on anybody, and he'll go full-blown speed on anybody. Best shooter you've ever seen with a foot on the line. Those long-ass twos, they got you got it's the most unstoppable shot in the game. He's money when it comes to that. He's so infectious with his energy and how having him out on the court, it's very rare that that's going to end up in something negative. We've already seen him at the highest stages succeeding. I just think that with the emergence of Jaime Jaquez, especially, you're going to be closing games with these guys, right? Healthy. But you're going to be closing with Bam, with Jimmy, with Tyler, probably with Jaime. And then what's there? Is it, are they going to go with a Haywood Highsmith? Would they go with a Caleb Martin? Would they go with Kevin Love at certain times? Like, I just don't know it's a slam dunk that Caleb's going to be in those games to close things out. And that's mostly been on availability this year. He could come here and he could absolutely go nuclear on the Magic tonight and give Tobes double middle fingers, and what the hell were you talking about? But I just think that his contract status is interesting because, he has something. He is a valuable type of player around this league, and maybe somebody wants to bring him into the fold so they could sign him long term, or sign him for their postseason run, or be, all those things are just interesting questions with him. And the Miami Heat have kind of shown with Gabe and with Max that they're not going to go balls to the wall with bringing those guys back. They did that with Duncan Robinson. And while Duncan's having a monster year this year, it's taken some struggles after investing long-term in him. It's something to keep an eye on for me. That's all I'm saying. I love watching Caleb Martin play, but knowing that it is trade season, knowing the DeJounte Murray rumors are out there and Terry Rozier rumors are out there, and that's mostly, I think, been a product of, it's just been banged up a lot. He took him a while to get started this season. And what does he miss? He missed 17 games so far this year. So I'm just interested in it. I'm interested to see where we're at with it, and where they are going forward with Caleb this year. But tonight, I think it's important for the Heat to find a way to get these next two. With that loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder, there's no shame in that. Thunder are a very good team. You had some bad runs in there that let it get away. Made it competitive there at the end. Wonky shot. You were right there with them. But Orlando, okay, they're coming into your building. You got to take care of that. The Hornets suck. Like, don't lose to the Hornets. Hey, don't lose to the Hornets. By the way, if we could just take a time out here for a second. Speaking of the Thunder, you guys see that they beat the Trailblazers by 62 points there? Yeah, 62 points. I hope Joe Cronin's proud of himself. I am. I really do. I hope that he is happy with the broken bits and pieces that he got for Damian Lillard and his rat bastard draft picks that he can hoard onto like a little hobbit. And I hope that he enjoys all that, because it is hilarious to me how this guy, the haul that he was hoping that he was going to get, he's got a team that's so uncompetitive. They lost by 62 points to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, holy crap is this guy. And what is he at? He's got Robert Williams, the crown jewel of his deal, done for the year. He got surgery on his knee. No shocker there. Malcolm Brogdon, is always a step away from being Dunsky. And I think didn't even play in that game because he was resting, because obviously you got to rest Malcolm Brogdon for a game against the Thunder. But it is great to see. It is great to see old Joe Cronin have to eat something like that. Meanwhile, we're going to get to watch tonight Jaquez, little Jovic, little sweetener, little action, some actual talent. And this guy's proud because he got the dregs of the Boston Celtics bench as his haul for Damian Lillard, who was in the midst of helping the Bucks go and fry the Celtics last night. So I don't know. Just thought that one was interesting. Just looking at that last night, I was like, some crazy blowouts last night all around the league, some crazy scores, and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell happened to the Portland Trailblazers last night? Oh well.